I have never been happier to be wrong about a book. Hey everyone, welcome back to Andrew's Wizardly Reads, and today guys, we are doing a book review here on the channel for you. But before we can do that, please do me a favor, like this video and subscribe to the channel, as it does help the channel grow. And you can check the description box down below for links to all my social media, including information about my Patreon and links to the Discord, as well as my Pango books and all that stuff for you to rifle through. Now, we are here to talk about a book, and that book is Empire the Vampire by Jay Kristoff. And let me tell you what, this is a positive review, because I was certain I wasn't going to like this. I was told by multiple people, Andrew, don't even bother picking up Empire the Vampire. You're not going to like it. And I finished this book, and I want more. So much so that I've immediately put book 2 on my immediate future reading plans. I'm just that excited for this. The best way I can describe this is if you take Anthony Ryan's Blood Song, you mix it with Bloodborne from Software, and then you add in a little Dracula, and then you sprinkle in just a hint of spice of profanity, a dash of the Da Vinci Code, and that's kind of what you get here with Empire the Vampire. Like, it's something I was not expecting. I was expecting gratuitous amounts of just sex and edginess and all of that, and that's not really what I got here. Don't get me wrong, that stuff is in here, but it's not what I would call gratuitous. And I was just unprepared for immediately being drawn into this story. And essentially what we've got a nested narrative where our main character, Gabriel de Leon, has been captured, and we're kind of at the end of his story. What I assume, because it's only the first book, what I assume to be the end of his story, and basically he's being interviewed by a vampire, and then throw in a little bit of interview with a vampire as well, why not? This has just got all the stuff in it. And he's being interviewed, and this chronicle's like, hey, give me your life story. We just kind of want to know it for posterior? No, that's not correct, but posterity's sake. And so what's happened is basically Gabriel is relaying his story, but he's not doing it in a linear fashion. He's got 2 different timelines that he is jumping back and forth between, while being just kind of interspersed with these little questions from his chronicler. And I absolutely love this, because one timeline takes place all the way at the beginning of his story, 17 years prior to the start of the story, and the other one is 3 years prior to the start of the story, where we have a much more jaded Gabriel, and then we've got a much more innocent Gabriel. And the just kind of differences between the two in that 17-year period is just phenomenal. It's crazy how interesting Gabriel can be made to appear in 3 different timelines. In one timeline, he's not very sweary. In the other timeline, I would probably say he swears a hair too much. If I have to critique this book for anything, it's some stuff I've been told, hey, it'll get explained later on why certain things are happening, so just kind of hold on to your horses, don't make snap decisions. But others, I'm like, okay, like, the swearing after a certain point just doesn't feel like it serves a whole lot of purpose. And so I could have kind of done without that. In fact, I would have probably bumped this up a half star if it had a lot less profanity in it, just because after a while it just started to seem silly. Gabriel also, like in one of the timelines, has a profanity, a saying called F my face, whenever something like is just not going his way and he doesn't like it. And so he says that a lot, to the point where it becomes kind of repetitive. I would have liked to see him kind of pull out a different swear word from his repertoire, or just do something else entirely, but we do get a fair bit of that. However, we have sentient swords and Ash, I believe it's Ash Drinker. We have sentient swords and Ash Drinker. We have a monastic order. We've got just eternal dark night. We've got the vampires are rising up, and they're basically daywalkers. Where, like, I mean, throwing a little bit of Blade in there too. It's just this book is a just mixing pot of goodness, of a bunch of things that I like, just kind of mixed together, and out pops this. Is it perfect? No. But I mean, this religious order, and Gabriel joins this monastery of warrior monks known as the Saints' Bloods. and basically he has like an incident at home and he's kind of forced to join them. And what I love about them is they're all half vampires, which of course Gabriel's going to find out that he is half vampire. And they're kind of fighting against these kings or princes of forever, these vampire lords who are trying to take over the world. And then we just get thrust into this world. We've got from enemies to friends, we've got love interests, we've got there are some attractive vampires, yes, and there are some sex scenes. I will say that, but I don't know, this book just worked for me when I thought it wouldn't. I liked the action, I liked the characterization, I liked trying to figure out how Gabriel's character arc is going to go. He's with his just kind of rivalry with one of his initiates, Aaron, or his master Greyhand, and what's going on with that, and how some of his teachers are kind of brusque towards him with just Seraph Talon. And then we kind of meet Chloe earlier on in the book in a later timeline, and then we flash back to how they met. And then we've got Dor. It's very, very interesting on how this goes. And it's entertaining. It is a hair long. I mean, this is 730 pages in the current edition I have. I am upgrading this to the UK Waterstones editions just because I loved it enough that I would love to have a special edition. And yeah, I'm just very excited to add those to my collection. So I will be unhauling this one because I am getting a nicer copy. But one thing I do want to point out, let me make sure I pick a safe one, is it is an illustrated edition. And let's highlight the audiobook as well. I believe the narrator's name is Damian Lynch. He does an amazing job of elevating this book because a lot of the flavor of the language is French leaning. And without the audiobook, I probably would not have latched onto that as well as if I probably wouldn't have latched onto that. I would have just been like, this is kind of weird. I might have figured it out eventually, but Damien makes it very clear that we're kind of leaning towards a French aesthetic with the language, like Madame, and the way that certain cities and towns and names are pronounced. They're very kind of just what I would consider. I'm not going to try and do a French accent for you. It's not happening. But that's what I would consider is going on here. And he just does an amazing job. So I'm a huge advocate for immersion reading this, because that's what I've been doing is I'll just turn on the audiobook and I was just sitting there flipping the pages while Damien just read it to me. This was a fun one to immersion read. Guys, I feel like I'm rambling. I feel like I've been all over the place. And yet at the same time, like, this is just really cool. One of the things I like is there's an explanation on why he looks so edgelord. That is built into the story, where, like, you would think vampire hunters are just kind of all clad in armor. That's explained. They're like, armor's really just not gonna serve you against a super strength, super speed, like, monster. And instead what they've done is they've inked tattoos on themselves, which you can kind of see here, right here, is basically they've inked tattoos in silver into their skin, and whenever they channel their faith, their skin shines and it will repel vampires. So basically they fight with their shirts off because it makes them faster, and they can display all of these holy kind of symbols. And as they rise through their initiate's trials, they get more tattoos inked on their skin and stuff like that. I don't know, I just really love this. And you can see on the cover here, Ash Drinker is displayed here. Ash Drinker is a sentient sword that's kind of broken. We haven't really gotten to where Ash Drinker came from. It's just Ash Drinker's there in the later timeline. And so I'm hoping that gets explored more in, like, Empire of the Damned, I believe is book number 2. I'm very excited to explore that. But this book is just, it may not be for everybody. In fact, I know this isn't going to be for everybody. But it was for me, which I found incredibly surprising. I waited a long time to read this book because I wanted a lot of the hype to die down around it. And that way I could kind of just sneak in the back and read it after everybody else has read it, and just have my own kind of sort of interactions with the book. I've actually been pinging 2 of my people on my Patreon in the Discord, Ryan and Trin, huge shout outs. They wanted me to try, Trin wanted me to try it, and, like, Ryan was skeptical on whether or not I was going to like it. But man, like, I have just been pinging them messages as I was reading this book, giving updates and my thoughts on certain things, and it's been a lot of fun reading this book for me, especially if you're a new reader who is then kind of talking to a veteran of the book. Like, you'll get a lot of raffos, but it's well worth it. And I had a lot of fun reading Empire of the Vampire. The love interest in this book is Astrid. Just kind of jump all over the place when I'm talking about stuff. Astrid is a very interesting book. Is a very interesting love interest because she's not typical. She's very brash. She's very, as she says, she's very bitchy. She gets referred to as Your Majesty. She's a royal bastard. And it's very interesting seeing how those two kind of circle each other and come together. I swear while I was reading this, I kept thinking of this book. This is Anthony Ryan's Bloodsong, which I think is an absolute masterpiece. And basically, if you've read this and you love this, read this one. If you've read this one and you love this, read this one. This is just this with vampires and Eternal Dark Night. Like, that's pretty much what we've got here. They're not rip-offs of each other, but I do think that they are comparable and in the same kind of sort of category. I would speak to them almost in the same breath. I do like Bloodsong a little bit more. Again, 5-star masterpiece, but I gave this like a 4.5 stars, maybe even a rough 5. This is just me. Like, I finished it today, so you're getting my immediate thoughts as I record this. But as I sit on this and possibly do rereads in the future, this could even become a solid 5-star read. I just really, really enjoyed Empire of the Vampire by Jay Kristoff, and I can't wait to continue. That's all I've really got for you today, guys. I feel like I've been rambling and all over the place, but I hope you've enjoyed my thoughts during this review, and that's all I've really got for you. So till next time, peace out, stay magical, bye. And as always, I want to give a huge thank you to my patrons. Thank you for supporting my passion and my hobby. It means the world to me.